to Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and a debut on the channel today for a birthday boy. This puzzle on the screen is called Difference of Squares, and it's by mathguy_12, which is the pseudonym for a young man named Nathan, who turns 22 today. And the testers say that this puzzle is a work of absolute genius. So I think this is mathguy_12's first ever puzzle. And apparently it's a masterpiece. So it heralds well. And it seems to be about maths. I've read the rules. And you can see there's like cages here. This cage sums to y to the power of 2. This cage sums to x to the power of 2. And everything else, there's lots of sort of cages expressed in algebra. So it's something a bit different. It's a little bit daunting. It takes me back to my days of doing A-levels, which were just a couple of years ago. You know me, young at heart at least. Now, what else have I been doing? I've been I've been editing a video that I recorded, a reaction video to High Ren by Ren, in response to the fact that tomorrow we're having Ren Day on Cracking the Cryptic. I don't know if we can release my reaction video to High Ren, because I wasn't expecting what happened at all. It was far more emotional than I was expecting. Let's just put it like that. And also, tomorrow morning is crossword day, isn't it? Because it's Friday tomorrow, so we're meant to do the Times crossword walkthrough. So I'm not sure. But anyway, I was editing that video. It did need a little bit of editing because there was some swearing in the song that I wasn't aware was coming up. So, but anyway, what a piece of music that is. Just quite incredible. And I'm looking forward. Well, we'll talk more about what's going on Ren Day tomorrow, but there is lots and lots of very exciting stuff, including, of course, Ren's album Sick Boy, which I understand releases tomorrow at some point. Other news, what else can I tell you about? Over on Patreon, we've got the Trick or Treat Sudoku Hunt, which lots of you have tried, and now there is a bonus video on Patreon explaining how to reach the Easter egg puzzles. There are 11 hidden puzzles, believe it or not, associated with that pack. And Rockrat Zero has kindly made a video explaining how to find. There's some cunning and intrigue that you need in order to uncover those extra puzzles. They're not part of the competition, so they're purely there for fun. But if you do fancy some extra 6x6 Sudokus, and why wouldn't you, do check out that video, and it explains all. And a quick shout out actually to David, who got his first salary recently, and sent us an email saying he could finally join us on Patreon. So David, thank you for doing that. And David then completed the Patreon reward on his first attempt, showing that he's got some brains as well as kindness. So David, thank you for joining us there and for your message. I love the idea that you got your first salary and you chose to spend some of it on our Patreon. That is very kind of you indeed. Any other news? Just to mention Line Sudoku. It's our brand new app. That's out as well. But why don't we have a look at Difference of Squares by mathguy12, mathguy_12. I might just have to call you Nathan, actually. That seems easier to me. And these are the rules. We've got normal Sudoku rules apply. I'm sorry if my voice is a bit gravelly today. I seem to be coming down with an illness, which is very annoying indeed. Anyway, digits 1 to 9, once each in every row, in every column, in every 3x3 box. Digits in cages sum to the expression or value in the top left corner. X and Y are positive integers such that X is greater than Y. Digits may repeat within cages if allowed by other rules. Now, so you may have been looking at this cage thinking, what on earth is going on? Normally in a killer cage in Sudoku you can't repeat a digit, but the eagle-eyed amongst you will note that that cage seems to have 11 cells in it, which would necessitate a repeated digit, and indeed digits may repeat in cages if allowed by other rules. So that just means those two cells can't contain the same digit, because normal Sudoku rules would militate against that. So digits along arrows sum to the digit in the bulb of the arrow. So those two cells add up to that. etc. So if this was 1, this was 2, that would be 3, because 1 plus 2 equals 3. And purple lines are renban lines. A ren reference in the instructions. A renban line is a collection of consecutive, non-repeating digits arranged in any order. So we haven't got many long renban lines, but let's say this square here was a 1. Then we would know that because this line had to contain consecutive digits, it must be the digits 1, 2, and 3, and they can appear in any order along the line. And that's all the rules. So do have a go. Let's see if we can give Nathan a good birthday. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, we're probably going to have to do some arithmetic to work out what the maximum and minimum values of y and x are. But I will say the first thing, whenever I see a cage like that in any Sudoku, I'm instantly thinking about Ard van der Wetering's set trick, which equates that portion of the grid. Well, it doesn't equate, but it does sort of. It equates that portion of the grid with, I suppose, that portion of the grid. Those two sets of digits have to be exactly identical. Another way of looking at that is to say that those digits here are equal to these digits, except that the blue digits have an extra set of the digits 1 to 9 in them, which is a mysterious fact that's very easily proved. And I don't think it means anything here, because this cage isn't quite right, is it? Parts of this cage overlap with the blue area, but that's sticking out, and all of this extra detritus here is sort of sullying the scene. So right, so we're going to get rid of this, and we're going to instead do mathematics. I think that's probably where we have to start. Now we're told y is less than x, aren't we? So what possible values could y have? What's the minimum we could make y? If we put 1, 2, 3 on each of the renbans, and put 4 here, that would work, wouldn't it, I think? What does that add up to? 16. So the whole cage could add up to a minimum of 16, and that's y squared. So y could be 4. Y is a minimum of 4. And what would that do? So if y was 4, this would be a 1, 3 pair. So, well, x is at least... I suppose we shouldn't be surprised by x being at least 5, actually, because you sort of expect it to be greater than 45, given it encompasses at least 9 digits. But okay, well, what's the maximum value that y could have? That's going to be if we put 7, 8, 9s in those squares with a 6 here, isn't it? So that's 54. 2 lots of 24 plus 6. 54 in terms of squares then. Okay, so we can't get as high as 8 squared, because 8 squared would be 64, and here is a knowledge bomb. 64 is more than 54, but 49, if y is 7, that would work, because 49 is achievable. We've just proved that, because we could have got as high as 54. So actually this cage then, so if y is 4, this cage is 16. This is either 16, 25, 36 or 49 is the sum of the digits in the y squared cage. I wonder if it's something to do with the fact that a 3-cell renban line has to add up to a multiple of 3. So we actually know that those 6 cells add up to a multiple of 3. I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, by the way, the way you prove that is you say, okay, well, let's make the middle digit, the middle value digit on this renban line equal to x. Then we know the other digits on the line are going to be x plus 1 and x minus 1. So the total of the line is 3x, and 3x must obviously be a number divisible by 3. But that doesn't really put pressure on this, because this can still be anything. And the total for the cage doesn't, you know, it doesn't have to be 0 mod 3 or anything, I don't think. Sorry, right, I'm not getting this. Maybe we have to think about the maximum value of this cage, do we? Which is actually slightly harder to calculate. Because if it were, you could make 30 there, another 24 there. Is that going to be possible? I suppose if you put the 6 here, that would be possible. So that's 54. Can this also be 7, 8, 9? I feel like you've got to have another 6 in here. But that's massive. That's 80, what was it, 84. Do we have a... Hang on, now we've got a double cell cage that adds up to x. We've got 2 cages that add up to x minus y. I don't get this at the moment. I really don't get this. I don't understand how we can possibly... There's so much flexibility once you can have repeated digits in here. I can't get a handle on how big that is, or how little it is for that matter. Not when there's so much flexibility about the value of y. All of the renbans are so... It must be this cage somehow. That makes me think about Ard again. That cage is so... Let me just do... I'm just going to do that again. I'm just going to have a look at that again. Oh, I suppose maybe I'll just prove it actually. Maybe that's a sensible idea. So how was that geometry stuff I was saying at the beginning? How is that true? Well, the way to think about it is actually to highlight all of those cells in green. Now, we don't know how the digits are disposed within green. You know, we don't know whether that's a 9 or that's a 9 or that. We haven't got a clue. But collectively, we do know the total contents of the green cells because it's 4 complete rows of the Sudoku. So that's 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9 in some order that must appear in green. Now, what about if I was to highlight the 5 final columns of the Sudoku in blue? Could we describe those cells similarly? Well, obviously 5 complete columns of a Sudoku will contain 5 sets of the digits 1 to 9, once each. So here's a question. If we were to remove that cell from green and blue, how does that change the difference between green and blue? Because at the moment the difference between green and blue, the cells we've highlighted, is 1 complete set of the digits 1 to 9. It must be. And if we remove that digit from the green set and the blue set, because we're removing the same thing from both sets, then obviously the difference between green and blue remains 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. So we could do that for all of those cells. We'll take them all out of green and blue, and the difference between this green set and this blue set is 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. And we can make that up in a variety of ways, because, I mean, that obviously, box 9 will contain 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. So if we lop that out of blue, we can now say that the exact digits that appear in green are identical to the exact digits that appear in blue, which is sort of a weird thing. But we don't really want this box in, do we? Because I was trying to isolate that box. So I'm going to take that out. And now we're back to where we were, which is to say, okay, well, the difference between green and blue is 1 set of the digits 1 to 9. So if blue had normal killer rules, and this was very close to being 1 set of the digits 1 to 9, that would feel interesting, because we could sort of remove those cells from blue and we'd have very close to equality between green and blue. pregnant pause when I get completely bamboozled. You see, it might be that we've got to... I'm wondering if it's something to do with allocating the arrows differently, like if I knock that cell out and introduce those two. No, that's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. I don't like that. Obviously, those two plus those must also still equal to y to the power of 2, because this cell is equal to the sum of those two. So down here, these and these could replace those. We could replace those like that. That's actually quite interesting to do that. Good grief, I've done it. I think I've got this. Hang on, I've certainly got something. What are you left with then? I'm not sure. There's definitely something going on. Yeah, okay. Let's have a think about this, because I should be able to do this in my head from this point, but I can't quite see whether everything's cancelling out. Okay, well let's reiterate what the difference between green and blue is at this point in the puzzle. The difference between green and blue is one set of the digits 1 to 9. So if I was to actually put that back into blue, now what's the difference between green and blue? Well, now the difference between green and blue is 2 sets of the digits 1 to 9, isn't it? Because I've just put another whole set of the digits 1 to 9 into blue. But look, watch this. I'm now going to add a set of the digits 1 to 9 into green. That set. And I'm going to add a second set of the digits 1 to 9 into green. That set. So best bear in mind this digit is in green twice as a result of those exercises. So I'll just make that purple flash for a moment. But the reason this is interesting to me is that now all of a sudden I've got absolute equality between green and blue. And I can start to take things out of them again. So those cells all come out of both sets without changing the equality that we have between green and blue. Yeah, this is it. This is absolutely gorgeous. But I was wondering how to deal with this in my brain. I couldn't sort of visualize it, but now I can. Because look at the colors that are in this set. This digit is in the blue sequence, okay? It's also twice in the greens. So if I remove it once from blue and once from green, it remains once in green. So we get this position, but now I can cancel this. That cell, whatever it is, say it was an 8, those 3 digits will add up to 8. So I've got to be a bit careful here, because I haven't, up until this, no, in fact, okay, I do have to be careful as well, because I also transposed these, didn't I? So we definitely haven't got equivalent digits anymore, but we've got equivalent sums at this point. So at this point in the puzzle, we can say that the sum of the green digits is exactly equal to the sum of the blue digits. But I can do better than that, because those 3 add up to that one. So those cancel down, and now I've actually got an equation, because now the blue, so blue, x squared is equal to y squared plus x plus y. This is absolutely ridiculous. So oh my good grief. Oh my good grief. Okay, that is one of my most favourite realisations I've ever had on the channel, Nathan. Because I suddenly... So the title, which is a difference of squares, is referring not only So the difference of squares has two meanings in this puzzle. One is what we just did, the geometric difference between the two squares in the Aard van der Wetering trick, which is that square and this square, the geometric difference between those. That's how you get this equation, which is itself a difference of squares, because now what we can do, if we take the y squared, what we've got is an equation which is, I find this very hard to, I can see it in my brain, but I find it quite hard to explain it. I've got x squared is equal to y squared plus x plus y from these cages. So if I move the y squared over to the left, I've got x squared minus y squared is equal to x plus y. And my limited knowledge of mathematical algebra does allow me to tell you that I do remember from my school days that the difference of two squares, x squared minus y squared, can be sort of expanded to x plus y in brackets multiplied by x minus y. Because if you times the two x squareds together, if you times the two x's together, you get x squared. If you times the two y squareds together, you get minus y squared, and the two xy terms cancel out. So that means I've now got an equation which has got... Right, let's just get this right so we don't mess this up. So now x minus y equals 1, I think. Because let me just think about this in my head very carefully. I don't want to get this wrong, because if I get this wrong, I'm going to get all the relationships between x and y wrong. I've got x plus y times x minus y is equal to x plus y. So that is the same as x minus y equals 1. So x is 1 greater than y. But that's probably not what we wanted, is it? Because y can still be y can still be 4, 5, 6 and 7. So x is now 5, 6, 7 or 8. I suppose it does limit it a bit. 8, 64. Yeah, I think I could have got higher than 64 when I was doing the maths on this before. All right. Well, no. Okay, I've got that. Right. I can do something, because these two numbers are x minus y. Those two cells, which we know is now 1. This is sick. This is absolutely, it's sick boy. It's sick boy, Nathan. So 1 is in one of those squares. This can't be 16 anymore, because 1 is knocked out of this renban. And the only way I could get y squared, well, y squared was 16, was if I put 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 and a 4 here. So that's now off the card. So y is not 4. So y is 5, 6 or 7, and x is 6, 7 or 8, which is... but I've got a 3-cell arrow. And a 3-cell arrow without a 1 on it must be 2, 3, 4. Because it must be. Because this needs to be a single digit total. So this digit is now, well, it can't be 1. It's 2, 3, 4 or 5. Can't be 1 by Sudoku. Now... There's another point there. If y we now know is not 4. If y was 5, it would have to be a 2, 3 pair, look. And that would make that 15 cage equal to 4, 5, 6, because the only way of making 15, if you're not allowed to use 1, 2 or 3, is 4, 5, 6. So this would be 4, 5, 6. This would be 2, 3. This would be at least 7. Actually, it would, the only way that works is if that's 7 and that's 2, because it can't be 1. So that would be 7, 2, 9. I'll put 9. Hang on. Right, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Right, so you can't... This is nice as well, actually. You can't make y equal to 5 anymore, because the only way I can make this cage equal to 5 is with a 2-3 pair. And that makes this 4, 5, 6, but it makes this 7 at least. And because this can't be 1, it makes this 9, and that plonks 9 in this cage, where the only way this cage used to be able to work is with a 4, 5, 6. If you put 9 in it, and it can't have 1, 2 or 3 in it, it's going to definitely add up to more than 15. So that doesn't work at all. So we've actually improved upon things even further, because y is not now 5. So y is 6 or 7. I don't know which of those. I'd probably rather it was 7, to be honest. I mean, if it's 6, it would still have to be a 2-4 pair there. But I don't think that's quite as bad, is it? I'm not sure. I'm just going to check that. If that's 2-4, then how do we make this total work? It can't have 1, 2 or 4 in it, so it must have 3 in it. And 2 digits that add up to 12, which can't be 3, 9 or 4, 8. So that's 3, 5, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 are still not available for this line. Ah! This still doesn't work. Because this square here is at least a 3 in this iteration of the world, and that square there is not less than 6. So that still adds up to 9, and it still breaks. Oh, this is great. So we've done it. We've done it. It's not... Y is not able to be anything other than 7 in this domino. And it's either 2, 5 or 3, 4 then, which is looking like it's trying to make a triple down here. Wow, okay. So y is 7 and x is 8. So that cage adds up to 8. And I don't know what that means quite, but I'm sure it means something useful. Let's just try and work this out. Let's think. There's probably still some pressure on this cage. I probably will think about that in a moment if I can't think of anything better to do. Actually, maybe another way of thinking about it is to look at the bottom row. Can I... I've got to have a low digit on here, don't I? So what I'm thinking is this has to be a single digit number. So these 2 digits can't be both 5 at least, because if this was, say, 5, 6, that's going to be too big. So there must be a 2, 3, 4 or 5 on this line. And then, so the other digits in this row can't be 2, 3, 4 or 5, because there's a sort of floating quadruple of 2, 3, 4, 5 between those 5 cells. So these squares have got to be from 6, 7 and 8. And in fact, the other digit that's on... Oh, okay, that's still okay. So the other digit that's in this domino is a big digit. It's a 6, 7 or an 8. And it can't be 8, because 1 isn't available in either of these positions. So it would be at least, if you put 8 on the line, it would be 8, 2 at least, adding up to 10. So 8 is in one of those squares. And this is either it's 6 or 7, adding on to 2 or 3, I think. Which... Well, one thing that means, if we think about that, I don't really know how to pencil mark this. There's a 2 or 3 in one of these cells. Let's just put that in the corner there. And a 6 or 7 in the other. But these could be the other way round. So we're not allowed to use that knowledge for anything other than just this pencil mark. But what that means, if we think about the Y cage here, this is either 2, 5 or 3, 4, adding up to 7. So there's definitely a 2 or a 3 in this cage. So there's a floating 2, 3 triple in the bottom row, and that square can't be 2 or 3. So that's 4 or 5, and that square now can't be 2 by the renban rule. So there's a floating 4, 5 pair between those squares. Now, is that good enough or not for us to understand any restrictions that exist? It might not be. It might not be. What would be interesting is if you could force this up as high as 9. No, maybe you don't need to. Right, so the value of this, we know we're adding 6 at least to 2 at least, so that is an 8 or a 9. Now, if this is a 9, it pairs up with that and plonks a 9 in there by Sudoku. But if this is an 8, it pairs up with that in the bottom row, and it plonks an 8 in this Sudoku, in this box. So the 15 cage either has 8 or 9 in it. Now, if it had 9 in it, we would then know what this was. Because if it has 9 in it, it needs 6 more, which is either a 5-1 pair, which it couldn't be, or a 2-4 pair. So if this was 2-5, neither of those options would be available. But if it's 8, I think we're going to get an extra degree of flexibility. If it's 8, yeah, then it's okay, isn't it? Because it needs 2 more digits that add up to 7, and whatever's not used in here is going to be what ends up being used in here. So that sort of works, which is disappointing. Okay. So how do we do this then? I don't know, is the short answer. Oh dear. I feel like we've made magic progress here, but we haven't actually got to the bottom of things. I've also got to be really careful about this. So hang on, if that's 9 then, what is this? Can it work at all? Yeah, it can still work, but not with 2, 5 here. If this is 9, this has to be 3, 9. Oh no, hang on. Oh, that's it. That's it. Right, I've got it. Okay, sorry, I lied it over one possibility, and that was remiss of me. Because watch, if this is 9, I said if you put 9 in here, you've got, this couldn't be 2, 5, and that was totally true, because that would knock out both ways of getting to 6. What I'd failed to appreciate is that if you put 9 in here, you still can't do it, because the 2 digits this would then have to be would be a 3, 4 pair, and you still can't get to 6, because 1, 5 and 2, 4 are not available. So this is 8. Oh, that's huge. That is absolutely huge. This puzzle is brilliant, by the way. So this is 8 by Sudoku. So we know that this is 8 and 2, 3, 4 or 5, depending on what's in here. But the only way this can add up to 8 is with the 6 and a 2, isn't it? So we do know the order, because this square cannot be the low digit, because 2, 3, 4 and 5 are a floating quadruple in those 5 squares. So this is 6 or 7. This is, it's 6, isn't it? That's got to be 6, that's got to be 2. It's the only way we can keep this down to 8. That becomes 7. That's got to be 6 by Sudoku, in the sense that it's got to be consecutive with 7 on the purple line, and it can't be 8. What does that mean? Don't know yet, but probably something. Oh, well, if that's 2, this can't be 2, 5. So that is 3, 4. So that's 5, that's 4. And therefore this is not 3, 4. So this has become 2, 5, 8 out of nowhere. That fixes that digit as a 3, that's a 2, that's a 3. This is a 4, 9 pair. Oh, this is just, it's wonderful, this is. 6 and 7 I've not put into that row. So that's a 5, I think, by our old friend Sudoku. Now this is 1, 7 and 9. Let's put that in, see if that helps us. Probably going to have to avail ourselves of vertical stuff now, because that can't be a 2. You can't put 1 into both of those squares to make the arrow work. And what was this? This was x. Now x was 8. Alright, so this is either 1, 7 or 2, 6. It can't be 3, 5 because of this one. So there's a floating 6, 7 pair in this column, because there must be a 6 or a 7 up here. And there must be, and this is obviously a 6 or a 7. Ah, right. How could that be 1 or 2? That can't happen, because this square would need to be a 1, 2 or a 3 to be consecutive, and it can't be any of those things. So that's 6 or 7. So this, whoopsie, so this is 1 or 2. This square is 5, 6, 7 or 8. Oh, that's very unpleasant. What about this arrow? If that's 5, that would be 2, 3 or 1, 4. This arrow. What's the sum of this now then? So y is 7, so this is 49's worth of digits, isn't it? To add up to y squared. Well, yeah, that's interesting. So this renban has to be 3 consecutive digits that don't use 1, 2 or 6. So it is either 3, 4, 5 or 7, 8, 9. If it's 3, 4, 5, it adds up to 12. And that's not enough. That's beautiful. Yeah, because if this was 3, 4, 5, that adds up to 12, which means these squares would have to add up to 37 to make this add up to 49 overall. And you can't make 4 different digits in Sudoku add up to 37. It's too much. The maximum is 30 with 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is 7, 8, 9. Which means these squares are 3, 4, 5 now. Oh, well, if that's 3, that's obviously a 1, 2 pair. Oh, I see. And now maybe we revisit my modular arithmetic, don't we? Okay, yeah, because we know this is 49 overall, and that's 24 of it. So this is 25 of it. So you can immediately see if we make this a 3, this would have to add up to 22, which is not divisible by 3. If we make this a 4, this is 21, which is divisible by 3. If we make this a 5, it's 20, and that's not divisible by 3. So this is 4. This is 6, 7, 8, adding up to 21. I think of x being 7 on that. 3 7s is 21, so 7 must be the middle digit. This is a 4, so this is a 1, 3 pair, adding up to 4. This has not got 4 on it now. That renban looks tricky. Bobbins. Well, no, that can't be 5. If that's 5, because 4 can't go in either of those squares, it would have to be 5, 6, 7, and 7 is in the column already, so that's 3. That's 5. This is a 1, 2 pair now, because it can't go through 4. And now we're stuck. Although, come on, I've got to solve this now. This has to be seen. It's an absolutely exceptional puzzle. 1 and 2 are over here by Sudoku. Probably one of them is there. for goodness sake. Right. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple. That's a 6, 7, 8 triple. So what's that digit? Only one thing. That is a naked 9 there. So that's a 9. That's a 4. So these squares are now 6, 7, and so that's a 6. It can't be 7 or 8. So we've got a 7, 8 pair here. So I suspect what we have to do now is to add up this cage and work out, because we know that this adds up to 64, don't we? It's got to be 8 squared. And at the moment, we've got 21 and 16, 37. 37 plus a maximum of 9 more is 46. And what do we have to get to? 64. So we need 18 more at least here. Between 18, if we make those add up to 7, which is the minimum. So this is 18, 19 or 20. Ooh, those are smelly numbers. That's all very... Oh, although you almost have to put a 9 in. 9 is in one of those. Okay, I don't really get that. That's... Oh... That square is a 5. That sees everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, 7, 8, 9. And that means 5 is in one of those. I can hear Maverick. Maverick has come to salute. The puzzle with maybe the best title I've ever seen in Sudoku history. Difference of squares is... It's quite... It's brilliant, isn't it? What's this then? So this value... I don't know really. We can put a small digit. We could actually have 2 small digits on this. We could have a 1 or a 2 and a 3. So that could be as little as 4. I don't think there's a problem with that. Ah, 5 comes out of here. So, okay, so there must be a 7 in one of these, because that's a consecutive pair of digits, and in any consecutive pair of digits you will find an odd and an even number, and the only odd number now seems to be 7 in one of those 2 squares. Oh, Bobbin, sorry, I can't quite... Oh, maybe I pencil mark these squares, actually. Yeah, because these are from 1, 2, and 3, and... No! I thought that... Oh! No, bother. Can we stop this being a 9? If that's a 9... This square is 6, this square has to be 8 actually. And that's because this is 1, 2 or 3. So, and 6, 7 are at sort of this virtual, well they are actually a pair now, it's still in my brain. I'd hypothecated them to be a virtual pair, but they are actually there as a pair now. So the only thing this works with is a 1, 8 pair. 3, 3. Oh, wow, hang on, something went wrong then. I tried to put that... Oh, something went wrong when I made this a 9. That has to be 3. No, that has to be... Sorry, 9, that has to be 1. That has to be 8. That's 2, that's 3. And then 3 has to go there in the column. And I made that an 8. Right, so why is that not working? Yeah, that's weird, actually. Okay, I hadn't noticed this, but there is a 3 on this arrow. I don't know if I must have seen that logic before, but that feels weird. The reason, if you look at this row, there's a 3 in one of those squares. Now, imagine this was a 3. Well, then by Sudoku, that's a 3. But if this is not a 3, that's a 3. So there is definitely a 3 on this arrow. And that means... What does it mean for that? Don't know. That means... Well, that can't be 4, because if that's 4... Yeah, it's weird. The way the Sudoku works here with this cage is very odd to me. But if that's 4, you have to put 4 there, and then that would have to be a 0 by Sudoku. So that's not 4. So this is a big number. This is 6, 7... Oh, it's not 6. I've seen why it's not 6, because I said one of these was a 3, and that would have to be double 3 to make 6. So 7 would be 3, 4 here, in a very particular order. That would be 4, that would be 3, and that would be 7. Just give me a second here, just to think about why that's not right. 4, 3... This would be 1, 2, 8 here. I can't tell why that's wrong. So 7 might work. 8 doesn't work, because the 3 would have to go with a 5, so that doesn't work. 9 doesn't work. 6, 7 is a pair. Oh, this is it. Right, sorry, this is much more straightforward. That's got to be a 7. It can't be anything else. So this is 3, 4, and the 4 goes here, and that's 3, and that's not 3. And these squares were from 1, 2, and 8. We just worked that out. So this is a 1, 2, 8 triple. Now we're going to be able to do maths on this box much more precisely, I think. In fact, look, and we said one of those was a 7, and it's now that one. So that's 7, that's 1. Let me just double check my x. X was definitely 8, yes, that's right. This is not 7 anymore. This is 6. This is 7. This is not 1. Oh, not 1. This is a 1. So that's a 2. That's a 1. So we've sort of done this, and our job is going to be to check that the maths is right. Into this, 4 in this box we can put in. 4, 6, 9 all have to go in. Now, the moment of truth. Does this box add up to 64, or have we made a ricket? Don't know. That's 22. That is 19, so we're at 41, 50, 64. It does work. That's absolutely superb. Okay, so this is 2, 3, 5. I can see some restrictions on that. Can't put 2 there. Can that really be a 1, 2 pair? No, that's going to break. So this is a 5. This is a 2, 3 pair. This has got to be, well, it needs a 1 or a 2 on its arrow, so that's got to be there. And this has got to be a 3 or 4. I've got a 1, 2, 3 triple in row 2 out of absolutely nowhere, and a 6, 8, 9 triple in column 8, and a 7 here does a 7 there, and an 8 there, and an 8 there, and a 2 there. So we're doing quite nicely with our old friend Sudoku now, aren't we? 4, 5, 9. Can't put 9 on an arrow. And 1, 2, 3. I was hoping these were going to contain some big numbers, so I was going to get a restriction on this digit. So this is either 5, 3, or it's 5 here with 4, 1. So this is never 2, is what we've just learnt. But it doesn't seem to actually be resolved, which is a bit strange. What am I missing there? Oh, I suppose it gives me a 1, 3 pair in this column. Maybe. Oh, that is useful. Ah, no, it's very useful. What's that put there? That can't be 3 anymore, so that's got to be... That's 3 in the corner. That's 3 in the spotlight, proving its position or losing its religion. I know some of you don't like the proving its position version. Okay, that's not 1. Can we do any better? Probably. Oh, I can't see how. What's going on? Let's try this column. 3, 4, 5. That's not 4. Or 5. In fact, that's 3. So that's 4. Oh, that's huge. Does that do this? Yes, it does. That's 1. Oh, so this is 3. This is 1. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. Aha. So this is 1 by Sudoku. And... okay, that can't add up to 8 anymore, so that's got to be 4 with 5. That does the 2 and the 8. So this is no longer 8. Can we keep this going somehow? It's probably putting pressure on. Oh, look. This hasn't got 4 on it anymore at all. So it's from 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So it must have 7 on it, which seems to have to be in the top row, look. Because it can't be here because of Sudoku. So that makes that square a 7. Does that do more? What about these digits? Do we know what they are? They're 2 and 6. Bobbins. That's not resolved. Ah, but the 3 might help us. 3 and 2. 2 by Sudoku has to go there. This column must be done, mustn't it? We must be able to do something with this column. 4, 7, 8 and 9. So that's 4, 8 or 9 apparently. I don't know. Maybe it's not done. Okay, let's try this row. 4, 6, 8 and 9 into this square. So 4, 6, 8 and 9. It's not 8. It can't be 4 by Sudoku. If it was 9, this would be a 7, 8 pair. Now, why doesn't that work? I don't know off the top of my head. That might be fine. If it's 6, 6, 7, 8 or 5, 6, 7, I don't know. Okay, I'm still not done, are we? Let's think about other things too. Let's do more Sudoku. If in doubt, do Sudoku. I've got a 6, 9 pair now. That's better. So that's now 8. That's 9. What's this? That's 4. So that's 9. Oh, that's been available for ages. Just didn't notice it. Sorry. 9, 7, 8. Is this done? 6 and 7. It probably is. I can't see why. Alright, what about the top row? Oh, 5. Yeah, look, there's a 5 on here. It's 5 and 7, so we can put the 5 in the corner. 5, 7, the difference is 6. 6 and 9 go over there. And this has got to be 8, 9, which is resolved. 8, 9, 7, 6. What a puzzle that is. That is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Solve counter 1. Okay, I'm the first person to solve the puzzle, apparently. And math guy, well, Nathan, happy birthday, and thank you so much for creating this. That is absolutely wonderful. I can say without fear or favour that if we ever make another book, I want this in it, because that title, Difference of Squares, there cannot be a more perfect title. I mean, to have a title that is so accurate about what it does in terms of the geometry implication and then the mathematical implication, and to hit the sweet spot. But I think anything more algebraic than that, I really wouldn't be familiar with the difference of squares. But I am familiar with x squared minus y squared being the equivalent of x plus y times x minus y. And that was just lovely when I realised that x and y had to be a difference of 1. And even after that, the puzzle has got some beautiful ideas in it. Just trying to think. I like that this arrow had to have a 3 on it. That felt peculiar. And I like the way you could sort of worry away at the bottom row and work out how that works. It's sensational. This is a sensationally good puzzle. Utterly, utterly world class. Loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on with it. I enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.